victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Today's show is brought to you by Juvenon. Are you feeling tired, sluggish, or foggy? It could be poor blood flow. Blood Flow 7 by Juvenon is scientifically designed to support healthy circulation, so you'll feel energized, clear-headed, and vibrant again. It's packed with natural ingredients like nitrocyanine, I hope I said that correctly, S7, and trans resveratrol. Blood Flow 7 works by boosting nitric oxide levels, a molecule that relaxes blood vessels, helping your blood flow freely to every corner of your body. And that means more oxygen and nutrients to your brain, heart, muscles, and even those places that might need a little extra help as you age.
They call it a lifting. They also use another word, but I'm not going to use that word. You know what that is? The word, it starts with an E. You know what the word is? If I ever used it, I'd be run out of town by you people.
Oh, behave. Yeah. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Let's talk about the fact that President Trump incited an erection.
Explanation was not they didn't like Donald Trump. They said he participated in an erection.
With just one dose a day, you can reclaim your stamina, support heart health, and improve overall vitality, all without any caffeine or stimulants. Try Blood Flow 7 today and feel the difference where it matters most, inside your veins. Alrighty, so
One man is being victimized.
That's me. Today's show is brought to you by Juvenon. Oh, I'm having all kinds of issues with the buttons and stuff today. I told you, hello. I told you I was tinkering with all kinds of things and was up late last night working on things. And let me just check something else here. Somebody said they couldn't. Oh, okay. Somebody said they couldn't see a video. They could only hear sound. Not really sure why. But let me just tell you this. I've been working probably since, well, I went to sleep, but I worked really hard last night. Couldn't do a show because I have some, let me just explain. I've got some new stuff coming up. Some really, really amazing stuff. It's going to help me turn Fanfare into a pretty much a 24/7 network. I'm going to be able to bring in content from all over the world. I can show you what's going on in Israel and Iran, and some of the time, actually probably most of the time, I won't even be on screen, but it'll be running, and then I could jump in at any time that I want. So in that regard, I'm working on it. It's a work in progress. And as I've been working on everything, a couple times things went down. One of my lights didn't work. A lot of tinkering in the laboratory. Got to get into that. And in building this and building it out and trying to go to like almost a 24/7 network, maybe we'll start with just 12 hours at first. One of the things that I'm doing this and why I'm doing it is because people have wanted more content. They don't like the news they're getting from other sources. And so I said, why don't I provide more news for you? If you watch CNN, MSNBC or ABC or any of the news stations, they've completely eliminated news for the most part at night. It's all talk shows and opinion shows, and they don't really get into the actual subject matter. So that's what my idea is going to be, doing more actual content. And then, of course, I immediately saw some people in here. They're like, oh, there's ads already right off the bat. Yes, I do have sponsors. Yes, I am working to generate more revenue on the channel. And if you watch television at all, they have sponsors. In fact, I remember people used to watch Dan Bongino, and he would just read something for the first 2 minutes. So, understand, this is a business. I am not a 501c3 charity. So, I've got to run it like a business. I have people I have to take care of too, and I will never apologize for running things as a business. That being said, let's get in today's show. By the way, forgot to tell you guys, today's going to be a shorter show than usual. One, because I'm still tinkering, but most importantly, because it's Robin's birthday. And we got to, I stepped in. She allowed me to jump in here and do something today, because I also had to test a few things. And that being said, we're going to be spending some time, talking and doing some things that, couples do. And I'm taking her to dinner, really nice steak dinner. I don't even eat steak, but we're going to go to a nice steak place down in here in Boca. And you believe it or not, I'm not going to tell you how old she is, because she'd probably scream at me. But then right after this, we celebrate our anniversary, which is at the end of July. So bam, bam, right back to each other. We've got her birthday and then our wedding anniversary. So it's going to be a busy next 30 days. Busy, busy, busy. All right. With all that being said, without further ado, don't want anybody to worry about a whole bunch of things that's going on. If you don't like the ads, you just skip them or whatever. But I'm still going to bring you a lot of content. More content than most people would bring you. So a lot of stuff has happened over the last 24 to 48 hours. Some of it good, some of it bad, some of it questionable. People don't seem to know which way is up and what's going on. But before I get to all of that, I do want to address something this one guy said on, I think it was Colbert's show. It was pretty stupid what he said. Listen to this. It's only 36 seconds long. You ready? Okay.
This fight against far-right neo-fascism, for me at least, was mainly taking stage in my home in Florida, fighting against Ron DeSantis and the extremism there. And something I always told people is that Project 2025 is actually Florida 2022, Florida 2020. Mm-hmm. And the stuff that's going on around the country right now, we've actually been dealing with in the South for a long time, especially in my state of Florida. So the difference is, it's like the struggle in my state has kind of been just spread throughout the nation. Mm-hmm. And honestly, that day after Election Day, I had a hard time getting up, probably like a lot.
Somehow that guy got elected in Florida. I mean, that absolute idiot is a sitting congressman, and he's from Florida. And the struggle he complains about, it only exists in his limited woke mind. That clip proves to you that even Florida isn't perfect. He's from a district near Orlando, right outside Disney World, that was, gerrymandered and re-engineered in 2016, and it became a Democratic stronghold. I think before him, Val Demings held that position. And they've, I guess, brainwashed the people in that area into thinking, regular black people bad, obviously white people bad. And then if you make any money, it's really bad. You see, this young commie wannabe has never held any meaningful job, and he began his career at 15 as a socialist activist working with Obama. He was also an activist with Bernie, and then, of course, with Kamala. So he's going everywhere he can just to do everything he can to destroy America. And he's never held a position that would even allow him to enjoy capitalism. So I don't know how he can be so angry at capitalism, but he is. So Kamala helped develop this young commie, and now he's out there spewing everything that he can possibly say. He's one of the many out there who for some reason are trying to Californiaize Florida. And this is important because this isn't a commercial for Florida. It's a warning for you. They want to Californiaize all the states that they possibly can, including Florida. That's what you have to understand. Florida is a target for these young commies. That's specifically what they want to do, is to make sure that the people who live in Florida, who exist in a life that they're not seeing anywhere else in the country for the most part, is trying to tell you, oh, it's wrong. Oh, and it sucks down there. Oh, you don't want to go to Florida. Oh, we're looking at Project 2025. Oh my God, the gangs and the guns and white people. That's what they're trying to portray. You see, Florida and Texas and a few other states has the libnuts shaking in their boots. People visit Florida. You've heard the term, I live where you vacation. People visit here in Florida, and they visit in droves, and they go home and thinking, damn, that's how life should be. And then they decide to move here, and we have to tell them, don't bring your ideology here. I call it idiotology instead of ideology, because it is idiotology. Don't bring that crap here. That's why you're leaving wherever you are. You're coming down to a free state. So don't bring that stupid idiotology down here. Florida is the place where freedom isn't just a word, it's a way of life. And many people, including many in my own family, have no idea how it is that we live down here. I actually get phone calls from people. Hey, you guys okay down there? I heard it's getting really bad. What are you talking about? I don't understand what you're talking about. Well, you're black, and supposedly it's like really bad for black people. What? And I also heard that, they're really bad against the gays. Meanwhile, Miami Beach and Wilton Manors are thriving, and I don't mean existent, I mean thriving gay communities. You come down here to Fort Lauderdale, and if I took you to Wilton Manors, you'd think you were in Little San Francisco. But it's different. It's affluent gays who are living the way they want to live in Ron DeSantis' state, and they've been there, and they're doing very well. Everybody in the cities that surround Wilton Manors, they don't have a problem with Wilton Manors. In fact, they grew so much it started taking out parts of Oakland Park. When I was working in that neighborhood, and that was my farm area where I used to buy properties and rent them out, I've told people, full disclosure, I used to have tenants who were gay. And do you want to know something about that? They are some of the most reliable tenants you will ever have. They take care of the property. It's pristine. They have dual incomes, good dual incomes. And so if you could ever find gay tenants, it ain't like I'm hanging out with them and partying. It was just some place for them to live. So the people from outside of South Florida have no idea that that's actually a haven, a good place for the LGBT, no, the LGBs. The T's, I ain't into all the T's. And you know that's got them so scared. It's not the beaches. It's not the palm trees. It's the fact that Florida is the antithesis, which means opposite, of everything they stand for and everything they're trying to do around the country. We love our guns. Oh, you can't have guns. Everything. We don't wear masks. We didn't wear masks very quickly after all that stuff happened. We don't conform to your BS. Never going to conform. We have a governor now, and hopefully Byron Donalds follows him, that will make it ensure that the life down here is how we like it, not how you want it. Not how you nuts think that it's Project 2025. What in the hell is Project 2025, and how does it have anything to do with me or the other people here? This is the anti-woke capital of America. And I'm going to tell you why Florida is the model every, not some, every other state should follow, including yours. Let's start with some basics here if you want, okay? I see you guys in the comments. What's so great about Florida? Well, for starters, it's a place where you can live your entire life without the government telling you what to think, what to do, and how to do it. DeSantis leaves us alone. Drive the right speed limit, but if you don't, you get a ticket. Okay. You break the law, you'll have to pay. There are sheriffs down here that don't play. You go ahead and live your life, but if you F up, you will most assuredly find out. In fact, there's sheriff over on the west coast of Florida, Sheriff Grady Judd, and then recently another guy over there said, hey, if you mess around down here, we give you the license. We give you our approval to give these people lead injections. If it's between me and you're invading my household, our castle doctrine doesn't require I have to run. I don't have to hide. I can end it. I can do the FO part of FA, which really makes some people think as they're walking around or driving around. Like, what if I tried to, do something to these people? Well, you might get lit. And the police feel the same way. And then most recently, Ron DeSantis said, hey, if these people get in your way and they try to block a highway or a street, you have the permission. Take care of business. Become a steamroller. And people are like, oh my God, I can't believe the governor said it. Yes, I have as much right to and safety to get home that you're trying to basically kidnap me from. My wife, if she's out alone, she has every right to protect herself. She don't have to wait until something happens. She doesn't have to wonder, is it going to be okay? Will they let me go? No, not down here. Not down here. And here's probably the big one. This probably is what they really, really, really don't like. There's no state income tax here. I've told you about that many times. No state income tax. That means more money in your pocket, not the government's, which is something all young commies hate. So I expect Mac Frost to hate Florida. I would expect Mac Frost and AOC, who happens to vacation here, to come down here and have a huge problem because of the life we live here. You get to keep more and more and more of your money. They're not putting all kinds of different taxes and everything else on top of you. No income tax, no state income tax down here. And while places like California are drowning in debt, here's something else they hate about Florida. Florida's got a budget surplus. Let that sink in. Everybody else who can't balance their budget, Florida, with DeSantis, has a surplus. There's so much money down here, we can do pretty much anything, any initiative that he wants to do. You gotta love that. While California's busy handing out free stuff to illegals, costing taxpayers billions, Florida's saying, nope, not only are we not giving you money, we're going to work with Tom Homan and we're going to get you the hell out of here. Because we're not putting our money out in bad places. We're going to keep the money right here. And I've heard people say to me a number of times, Barry, why is everything all about money? Everything's not about money. Everything is about what money can provide you. See, if you want to live a free life, you have to define what freedom is. Freedom to me is being able to take my wife out to dinner tonight because it's her birthday. Freedom to me is being able to take her someplace and let her pick out the present she wants. Freedom to me is if Ashley or the grandkids want to come down for the weekend or whatever, we can just have them, fly them down. All kinds of things. And then freedom, because I live in Florida, changes. You see, freedom at one time was, I hope I'd have the time to spend with my grandkids. Then it became, freedom is time to help them get vehicles, help them do different things, go to college, go up to North Carolina and see them. Freedom is growing because now Barry and Robin are looking at, you know what, the hassle of going to airports, we're just going 2 hours. What are the prices on flying private? Can we fly private to North Carolina? Can we bring them down as they're young kids? Maybe they can fly on their own. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. So don't everybody go, Barry's right. No, I'm not there yet in terms of being able to fly back and forth with my grandkids and Ashley on a private jet. But that's where I can build to. That's where I want to get to. That's my next exit on the Freedom Highway. Next exit on the Freedom Highway for me is to say, hey, I'm not going to mention their names, but grandson, granddaughter, and granddaughter, take the Uber over to the airport and we'll see you in a couple hours. Just have mom if she wants to drop you off. And they can just walk right out on the tarmac and come right down here to the executive airport in Boca. That's a dream. That's a dream. And if I am blessed with that, it is truly a blessing. But see, how many people in other states can even think that would even be allowed? Oh, you're going to a carbon footprint. Oh my God, the climate change and everything else. You're talking about flying your grandkids or yourself private to up to Raleigh. Yeah, we're thinking about it. We're again, put the big asterisk there. We're not there yet. You'll know when we're there because you've seen me. I've been doing 2 shows a day for the most part. And now with this new part that I'm building, it's with the intention of basically having my own studio and then over here having another computer, and that other computer is rolling 24/7 with news. So when you have a road map as to where you want to go and where you want to take things, that's what I've been telling you guys about the finance stuff that some people for some reason get upset with, is I have a roadmap. I'm not there, but I know what I'm working for. And so if you look at all this, you break it down because numbers don't lie. In 2025, California's state income taxes are through the roof. The top rate, understand, is 13.3%. 13.3% state income tax. That's on top of federal taxes and property taxes and sales taxes and all the other taxes that Gavin Newsom is putting on Californians. And meanwhile, I get idiots like this guy Max Frost telling me we need to make Florida more like California. No, no, we have none of that. Zip, nada. You keep what you earn and you start building for the future. You know what that also means? It means it attracts businesses, it attracts families, and it attracts people who want to live free. In fact, in 2024, more than 87,000 people moved from California to Florida. Think about that. 87,000 people said, see ya, and came down here. Why? Because they're tired of being taxed to death and being taxed after death. See, down here, there's all kinds of different tax laws that you have to know about. There's also something called homestead. They can't take your property. Can't do that in California. After you die, they want to take more of it. And down here, we're obviously tired of the woke ideology and the insane coddling of illegals. Not going to have it. Here's a rhetorical question that each of you can sit there and answer right now. Would you rather keep more of your own hard-earned money, or would you rather hand it over to a government that has already shown you that it's going to go to waste or on failed progressive policies? I know what I choose. I know what I'm choosing. And I bet you do too. I bet you do too. But it's not just about the money, as I've been telling you. It's about values. Florida stands for freedom, for family, and for faith. See, we can pray down here. We can pray anywhere we want. There's churches everywhere. And nobody's worried, except for nuts, about something happening in a church. And Florida stands against the woke insanity that is tearing this country apart. You know, the left loves to say, if we don't watch out, the whole country will look like Florida. And you know what? They're right. Because that's where you come in. That's where you come in. Because here's the thing. They think that's a bad thing. They think it's a warning. Watch out. Don't let don't let the rest of the country be like Florida, where the people are like, well, that would actually be pretty cool. You know, that would be actually living. To us, it's a promise. It's a promise of a better way of living, a promise of a safer community, a promise of a future where our kids can grow up without being indoctrinated by some radical agenda. So let's talk about some of those failed progressive policies for a second. You know, the policies like you see in California, New York, and Illinois, where they can't even define what a woman is. And at the same time, the people who they can't define, they're saying can play in the sports that are for the people they can't define. If that isn't some sort of crazy progressive experiment, I don't know what is. And guess what? It's a complete disaster. That's not even talking about the crime rates that are through the roof. How about homelessness everywhere? How about businesses fleeing? You see, we have homeless here. We just don't have that much of it. They're not allowed to just pitch tents and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And there may be some in Max Frost's neighborhood, because Max Frost, his people want that. They want people beholden to the government. They want you to have to serve at the altar of governmentus. And governmentuses meaning like the Kamalas and the AOCs and the Elizabeth Warrens of the world. They want you bowing down to that altar. But why? Why do you need people to be submissive in order to get what you want? Why can't you give them options? Because policies that, defund the police, that let criminals walk free, that prioritize their feelings, their feelings over facts, not here. Not here. And here's why.
You have this movement around the country where these groups, I think they're funded by people like Soros, where they want to dox people enforcing immigration law and basically try to incite attacks on them just for simply doing their job. I've directed FDLE and other state agencies to have zero tolerance for that. I know that, Commissioner, you're on the ball on that, but that isn't going to fly in Florida. This is not Los Angeles. This is the free state of Florida. So we respect the law. We respect the people that are executing the law. You know, if you don't like the laws, then vote for people to change the laws. You don't have the right to just simply opt out of federal immigration law. And I think what's happened in California is they were a sanctuary state.
Not on our watch. Ain't gonna happen here. Nope, sorry. Governor Ron DeSantis, who we voted in, just like we voted Trump in, didn't just talk the talk. He walked the talk. He walked the walk. He supported law enforcement. He cracked down on crime, and he made sure that Florida stayed safe, both for its residents and its visitors, the legal visitors. If you're not from here and you get caught, you're going. He was one of the first ones to tell President Trump and Tom Homan, I got your back down here. Maybe because President Trump just lives about 15 minutes up the road. So it's pretty easy to say, I got your back in South Florida and throughout the rest of the state. Keep people safe. Here's a statistic for you. In 2024, major cities in California saw a 20% increase in violent crime. 20%! Meanwhile, Florida's violent crime rate dropped by 5%. That's not a coincidence. That's a result of his leadership. Leadership that understands that you can't have a free society. And you can't have people who want to live in a free society without law and order. It just can't happen. And also, I have to say, it also means trusting the people who live in your state to execute their justice if they have to. Talk about law and order. They're not just talking about the guys with the badges. Those guys with the badges are not there. They're not precogs. They can't stop crime before it happens. Too many people think that the police are there to prevent crime. No, they're there to respond after the crime has taken place. Nobody calls 911 and says, hey, yeah, I think someone's about to break into my house. 911, yeah, I think someone's about to kidnap my child. No, by that time, they're reacting. Put that hat on differently and just imagine to yourself, this isn't the Minority Report with Tom Cruise. You don't have precogs that know what's about to happen. That's where you come in. That's where you come in as a parent, as a resident, to understand this is what Trump wants for America. The model right here in the state of Florida is what President Trump is working for the rest of the country. And he's being fought tooth and nail. This is why they're fighting for the illegals. In addition to the vote, they want anarchy. They want to, as they say, radically transform America instead of radically upholding America. And so again, the same rhetorical question is, where would you rather live? In a place where you're afraid to walk down the street, or in a place where you can enjoy your life and your family's life without looking over your shoulder? We live in a very harrowing time right now where at any moment, boom, things could go off. Anything could happen. People could walk into a building and do stuff. You got to have your head on a swivel. But in certain parts of this country, having your head on a swivel is useless. There's nothing you can do. You go to the mall in California and see somebody doing something, you're an innocent bystander until you're not a bystander. Down here you see something happening, you can take some action. That's a huge difference. You and a couple other people can take some rapid action. You and a couple other people who have been told by the governor and the sheriffs, if you see something, don't just say something, do something. We'll figure out afterwards whether, you pulled it too early or not, but that keeps bad guys at bay. I could run through a mall and steal anything and shoplift in California up to like $1,000, and everybody just has to stand there and go, do that down here. People got pissed off when Jason Aldean made the song Life in a Small Town. They thought it was racist. No, it ain't racist. Even black people down here like, don't F around. Don't do it. Where do you want to live? Where you have to wait until something happens? Where you can help prevent it before it happens? And let's not forget the impact on all of our communities. In California, you've got entire neighborhoods that are unlivable. Tent cities, drug addicts, you name it. But in Florida, communities, for the most part, are thriving. Families are moving in, not moving out. Families are moving up, not just completely collapsing. Oh, by the way, the word family is important. Yes, I mentioned the gay neighborhood in Wilton Manors, but for the most part, I'm seeing a resurgence in the word family. I'm going to church and seeing, wow, these are families in here. Why is that? Because Florida's policies not just protect people, it helps to enhance the building of families, to have kids, that they're going to be safe. You can send them to a school that's not going to indoctrinate them. And it doesn't protect the criminals. They protect the taxpayers down here, not the freeloaders. That's a big difference. All these other states, including Schumer and everybody else, they're out there trying to protect the broke ass. And I understand there should be a safety net for people who are broke. But you shouldn't completely turn your government of your state upside down to protect the criminals and the broke and everything else. Protesters, stupid students. You can't do that. You have to protect the people who are your taxpayers. And you have to protect people's values, not some twisted ideology that says it's okay to ignore the law. Now here's where it gets really, really, really interesting. While California's busy banning plastic straws and mandating gender-neutral bathrooms, Florida's saying, let's focus on what really matters. And that's what I did. A couple days ago, I played a song by Metallica. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. If you're not safe, if you're not seeking prosperity, if you're not protecting the ability for people to be safe, for people to be prosperous, for people to be able to learn and have education in their schools. In California, they're teaching kids that America's evil, that math is racist, and that boys can be girls and play on any other team. It's insane, but in Florida, we're teaching the truth. We're teaching history, not revisionist nonsense. I am so sick of turning on something and seeing people carry some stupid sign. It's not where I want to live. That's not where I'm going to live. I want someplace where I understand, yeah, there was slavery. It was bad. The hell is Juneteenth? Doesn't mean anything to me. There's one Independence Day. Not two. There's one national anthem. Not two. There's two sexes. Not 55. I'm not going to play your Halloween game 365 days a year. Thankfully, it's what, June 21st, Robin's birthday. We got 9 days left of a Pride Month that has pretty much been non-existent. Because of all the stupid other stuff they've been doing, Pride Month has been forgotten. We're teaching science down here, not gender theory. And we're teaching our kids to love this country, not hate it. And here's a recent incident that proves my point. In California, a school district decided to remove honors classes to basically promote those who are achieving, who had meritorious performance. They decided to remove honors classes because they said it was too white. Too white. How insulting is that? To tell people, yeah, you can't achieve. If you want to be exceptional and become, the next summa cum laude, you can't do that. It's too white. I wasn't afraid to tell what I just said about me wanting to get access to a private jet because that's where I want to go. It's a meritorious performance reward. If you're doing well enough and doing the right thing, that maybe one day you can actually fly private. Maybe I got spoiled because I used to work for a billionaire, and that billionaire had his own plane. And I'm like, damn, this is awesome. Wait, you didn't have to go for security? No security. You ain't got to sit down and fasten your seatbelts and hear the guy. No, just sit there. You want to go in the back and lay down? There's places to go to sleep. I'm like, are you? Oh, and then there's a server who's bringing you food and not telling you can't have something without swiping a credit card. Yes, sir, I want that. I want the meritorious performance. I want to know, hey, job well done. You can do this. And yet, in California, they're teaching kids it's too white to be honor rolled. An honor roll is a white thing. No, I don't want to live there. I don't want anything to do with that, Max. I'll tell Max, go kiss my butt. In Florida, they're expanding school choice so parents can decide what's best for their kids. So I ask you, rhetorically again, which system sounds better to you? One that punishes excellence, one that punishes meritorious performance, or one that rewards it? When Max says that we're looking at Project 2025 and it was here since 2022, I would have just shut up and applaud. Yeah, if that's what you want to call it, fine. Whatever it's been since Ron DeSantis has been here, let's just applaud that because that's what we want. Thank God he was voted in. And then let's talk about law enforcement for a moment. As you guys know, I have a couple of buddies who are in Florida. I can't even say where they are so they don't get in trouble because one of them's up in Max Frost's district. In California, they're defunding the police. They're letting criminals out of jail early. And what's the result? You just seen it for the last 4 weeks. Chaos and anarchy. But in Florida, we're doing the opposite. We're funding the police. We're backing the blue. And guess what happens when you do that? Crime goes down. Communities get safer. People feel secure. Property values go up. Yeah, that's one I like being in real estate. So here's another rhetorical question for you since I've been asking. Why would anyone want to live in a place that doesn't support your safety. See, if you're a family, if you're head of a family, you're a husband or a father, and you look around like, why would I live here when I know they don't want us to be safe, especially if I'm white? Why would I want to subject my family to this? Why would I want to live in a place where the bad guys are in charge? So what's the takeaway? And it's not a commercial for Florida. It's simple. Florida is the model. It should be the model for every state. It's the example. It's the beacon of hope in a country that's struggling to find its way. And it's time for other states to follow Florida's lead. It's time to demand that our leaders, your leaders, stop the progressive nonsense and start embracing the values that make America great again. Because it was indeed great. Values like freedom, family, and probably most importantly, faith. Values that Florida embodies every single day. If you're tired of the woke insanity, if you're tired of the failed policies, if you're tired of living in fear, then you have to demand change. Demand that your state follows Florida's example. I can't do it for you. Write to your current representatives. Speak out at town halls. Tell them you don't want this crap that's going on in your town. Fight for your way of life. You have to. You don't have any other choice. Nobody else is coming to help you. As I've said a few times on the show, you're not going to be able to vote your way out of this. You're not going to be able to prosecute your way out of this. You are going to have to demand, enforce that this shit changes. And it changes right away. You have to demand it. Because given their way, as you heard Max say, these live nuts want to make California the model for America. So the choice is yours, and it's clear. Do you want to be like California with its chaos and its craziness? Or would you like to be more like Florida with its freedom and its future? I know because I'm here what I would choose, and that's why I'm here in Florida. And I hope you do too, but most importantly, I hope you take the steps to make it happen. Because we are so far gone at this point where this idiot can stand up on a stage and say the kind of stuff he said. And people clapping in the audience. Oh, it's Project 25. It's horrible what's going on in Florida. Yet I bet every single one of those people in the audience who were clapping, providing it wasn't a laugh track, probably listened to that and said, I've been to Florida. It's pretty cool. My kids go down there for spring break and they came home. They weren't robbed in an alley somewhere. My daughter didn't have something happen to her, if you know what I mean. Can't say it on YouTube. That's all I'm saying. I'm not promoting Florida. I'm promoting our way of life. I feel so strong about it because I know tonight when we go out to dinner and then we go out to the casino and we have our fun, we have our play, I don't even think that there's going to be something crazy. And I understand, as what we're going to talk about, we're in a crazy world and things are crazy. But for the most part, all things being equal, I think you should Floridize your state instead of Californiaize it. And don't let these, you heard him say it, this guy never had a job. He's been a social activist commie his entire life. I think he might be lighting the feathers. And he's trying to say that California is the way. Move! Why do you want to bring it here? Get out! So, I'm sorry if I took a long time with that monologue, but damn, I just can't take people saying stupid crap like that. When you're in a country that allows you to say stupid crap like that. That probably is the biggest thing. Because they want to shut us up. They don't want us to be able to talk because talking has power to it. Talking allows us to talk to each other and talk to thousands of people here. And then allows it to disseminate to your community. And only you have the power at this point. Not in the government, not your representative. Only you guys have the power to take it back. To live the kind of lives you want to live. That being said, God bless everybody. God bless you guys. Hope everything is safe in your neighborhood. I'll be right back.
back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so I'm all talked out, and now it's time for you guys to give me. I'm going to take some comments here. Before I take those comments, I want to talk to you about this pretty awesome thing. I mean, it's absolutely awesome. You guys may have seen it sitting back there on my shelf for quite some time, and it's something new, a new edition from Patriot Addict. And you saw the news where Trump was gifted a luxury jet by Qatar, a bold symbol of power and global respect from Qatar. But you remember this? Remember the old Trump Force One? Actually, I can go take a picture of it because it's sitting right here in West Palm Beach. And to honor that moment, Patriot Addict spent months crafting the perfect tribute, the Trump presidential jet replica. And let me tell you, it came out very, very good. People across the country are loving this. Trump Force One. I sit it right back there when I'm doing a show. And so now the Fanfare family, you have a chance to grab this special discounted pricing for limited time only. You can get this for 50% off and free expedited shipping on their order. Just scan the QR code over here. This just isn't a collectible. It's a way to say I was a part of this moment in history. Normally this premium piece, and I'm telling you, it's very well built, goes for $360. But right now, if you scan it, you can grab it for half the price, and it's shipped free. Scan the QR code to your right to apply your 50% off coupon and claim your Trump jet today before they're all gone. Again, scan this code right here to grab yours before they sell out. I love it. Robin put it together for me, and it's just really neat. And I don't want to break it, so I'm going to be very, very careful. I'm going to sit it right. Hope it doesn't cast a shadow on me while I'm sitting here, because it's in front of the light. So I have to be very careful that it doesn't block out this beautiful face in any way, shape, or form. All right, so let's take some comments, as we're nearly an hour in, and I haven't even talked to you guys yet. I love Sheriff Grady Judd. If you guys have a chance, you need to go onto YouTube and just search Sheriff Grady Judd. He's one of the guys who will tell you, come down here and mess around, you can get graveyard dead. I'm like, what is graveyard dead? I understand that. Yeah. Born in Chicago. Worked law enforcement 20 years, moved to the free state of Montana, but now they're trying to sneak communism to Missoula. Very sad. Yeah, every corner. If you're governors, let me just tell you, they're coming. Make no bones about it. They are coming for every single state. They have to. Look what's happening in New York, and now they're looking at bringing in that kind of mayor. Insane. And they're trying to seed everything all over the country. And so if you think you're safe, you better find out what your mayor, what kind of cojones your mayors have and your governors have, for sure. Let's see here. It's much easier to self-deport. Exactly, it is. Hey, what's up, Maximus? Hope you're being safe out there. It's past time we take our country back. Absolutely. But we have to do it. Let's see here. Winning. Yes, for sure. I wish they were all like Sheriff Grady. Yes, I did I click that button? No, I didn't click it. I wish they were all like Sheriff Grady. DJT is exactly what America needs. But the problem with Trump, and it's not a problem with Trump, is he can't do it alone. You can see what's happening with these judges and all the crazy stuff that's been going on. Absolutely insane stuff. It's sick. It's absolutely sick. All right, so I want to cover something that happened, and I'm getting to the stuff about Trump and J.D. Vance. It's pretty funny. Let me do that first. So I've got, Trump had a speech yesterday, which was very interesting, and it was on his way out of town, or actually when he landed at the airport in Bedminster yesterday. And there's a couple items, so we're going to listen to this, and we're going to do some reaction and actually talk about what he says. Let's listen.
Breaking news into the Fanfare news feed.
And I'm waiting. Why did it stop? Okay, hold on.
Rwanda, you know all about Rwanda, and the Congo will be doing a peace settlement
probably coming in on Monday or Tuesday. We're going to be signing it up, and we've stopped a very vicious war. So that was an honor for me to be involved. I want to thank J.D. Vance for a great job, and also our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has done a fantastic job. So Rwanda, a long-term war with the Congo, a very bloody war. They're all bloody, but this was a really bloody one, is going to be making peace with Congo, and they can get on to making trade deals with the United States and other places and have a much more normal form of life. We're very honored by that. As you know, we did a very great job with India and Pakistan, and we had India in. It looks like we're going to be making a trade deal with India. And we had Pakistan in. It looks like we're going to be making a trade deal with Pakistan. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. Serbia, Kosovo, likewise, they've been fighting for years. And as you know, we brought that one to a conclusion. And now we have a couple of big ones. We have Russia, Ukraine, which is making a little bit of progress. And we have Israel, and nobody really knows what that one is all about. We're going to find out pretty soon, I guess.
The Iranian foreign...
All right, so at the top of that, he talked about Rwanda and Congo. And if you're like me, you probably went, huh? Why do we care if they're if the jungle masters are over there killing each other? What in the hell does Rwanda have for us? What does the Congo have for us? Why would Trump have been working to help Rwanda and Congo come together in peace? How does it benefit the United States? And again, these people in the press, sir, yeah, what do we get? What's in it for us? They don't even ask. It's like they don't even care. And that's the part that he probably was waiting for someone to say to him. Sir, why do we give a crap about Rwanda and the Congo? Now, other than humanitarian reasons, there's got to be something in it for us. Again, minerals, rare earths, lots and lots of money. And I'm sure there's some sort of security agreement being put in place that we can possibly, I don't know, maybe have a base or something there, some sort of installation. But nobody knows because they don't ask. And so now we all have to start doing our own research and saying, what the hell do we want to do with Rwanda and Congo? He didn't do it for, out of the goodness of his heart. There has to be something very strategic with American interest. Of course, we already know the deal he wants to cut with Ukraine and Russia, they're still doing the craziness. But then he also mentioned Serbia. And he's going around the world at this point, and these are obviously strategic in terms of the inflamed areas of the world that we want to be a part of. So I would research that if I were you and say, okay, why would we care about Rwanda and Congo? Nobody ever talks about Rwanda and Congo, and especially these idiots in the press right now.
Mr. President, the Iranian foreign minister this afternoon said if the U.S. is serious about negotiations, that you would call up Israel and request that they stop their airstrikes. Will you make that request?
Well, I think it's very hard to make that request right now. If somebody's winning, it's a little bit harder to do than if somebody's losing. But we're ready, willing, and able, and we've been speaking to Iran, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Who's we're winning? And again, nobody asked that question. President Trump, can you expound on that? How are we winning? What's going on? Nope, they don't even care. You can be a better journalist than these people could be. How are we winning? Well, maybe because they've cut off many heads of this Medusa-like snake. And now, we got them to the point where they want to essentially talk about something, even though that talk, as I've mentioned before, has a very, very strict line. Period. You will not get a nuclear weapon. Don't even come to the table unless that's what you want. So if you're winning, then you're probably getting your way at this point. If you're winning, you pretty much have these people to the point where their backs against the walls. Like you can retain power of your country. We're not looking for the regime change that the idiots are doing, but you're not going to have a nuclear weapon. That might be the line in the sand. Well, actually, it is.
Just a time to see whether or not people come to their senses. That's all it is.
Did the Europeans help at all in talking with the Iranians?
No, they didn't help. No.
That's interesting. Did the Europeans help at all in talking to the Israel and Iranians? Now, they didn't do anything. Why is that? Sir, why is it that the Europeans aren't even like talking about this? Well, that's the easy answer. They hate Israel. They don't care. It would probably be better for them if Iranians took care of Israel. They don't like Bibi. They tolerate him. They don't like him. So they're hands off. Plus, and this is a big one, everything they've given to Ukraine, you have to wonder what their money situations are like. They are completely beholden to other people who have oil. Iran has oil. And so they know they need that black gold, that Texas tea. It needs to keep flowing. But see, the thing is, President Trump knows it too.
They want to speak to Europe. They want to speak to us. Europe is not going to be able to help in this one.
20 years ago, you were skeptical of a Republican administration that attacked a Middle East country on the idea of questionable intelligence of weapons of mass destruction. How is this moment different with Iran?
Well, there were no weapons of mass destruction. I never thought there were. And that was somewhat pre-nuclear. You know, there was a nuclear age, but nothing like it is today. And it looked like I'm right about the material that they've gathered already. It's a tremendous amount of material. And I think within a matter of weeks, or certainly within a matter of months, they're going to be able to have a nuclear weapon. We can't let that happen. I was very much opposed to Iraq. I said it loud and clear, but I was a civilian, but I guess I got a lot of publicity. But I was very much opposed to the Iraq war. And I actually did say, don't go in, don't go in, don't go in. But I said, if you're going to go in, keep the oil. But they didn't do that.
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then. All right. So this is very important. I actually had an interview scheduled with somebody yesterday. And in having that interview, which is in the can, but I couldn't play it because of what developed according to this speech right here. When here they're basically questioning Tulsi Gabbard. Listen to what he says right here.
Intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong.
All right. President Trump straight up says Tulsi Gabbard is wrong. Everybody ran with it. There must be some problem between Trump and Tulsi. He doesn't have any confidence in her, blah, 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 blah. You'll probably all heard it in the news. Many of you probably thought to yourself, yeah, she's wrong. And she's a plant. And she's all the stuff people are saying. He can't trust Tulsi. Very interesting. After that came out, Tulsi said this. The dishonest media is intentionally taking my testimony out of context and spreading fake news as a way to manufacture division. America has intelligence that Iran is at the point that it can produce a nuclear weapon within weeks to months. If they decide to finalize the assembly, President Trump has been clear that can't happen. And I agree. And she's got her full testimony about it right there, which I can play for you. I can grab that and we can bring it in. But it's very interesting that people either somehow misconstrued or whatever. So I think I will play that because I think it's important for people to hear that, you know, what she actually said. So without further ado, let's listen to what Tulsi said back when she had this hearing. So give you some context on everything. All right, so let's play this. I hope the volume is correct.
Iran continues to seek expansion of its influence in the Middle East, despite the degradation to its proxies and defenses during the Gaza conflict. Iran has developed and maintains ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and UAVs, including systems capable of striking U.S. targets and allies in the region. Tehran has shown a willingness to use these weapons, including during a 2020 attack on U.S. forces in Iraq, and in attacks against Israel in April and October 2024. Iran's cyber operations and capabilities also present a serious threat to U.S. networks and data. The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program. In the past year, we've seen an erosion of a decades-long taboo in Iran on discussing nuclear weapons in public, likely emboldening nuclear weapons advocates within Iran's decision-making apparatus. Iran's enriched uranium stockpile is at its highest levels and is unprecedented for a state without nuclear weapons. Iran will likely continue efforts to counter Israel and press for U.S. military withdrawal from the region by aiding, arming, and helping to reconstitute its loose consortium of like-minded terrorists and militant actors, which it refers to as its axis of resistance. Although weakened, this collection of actors still presents a wide range of threats, including to Israel's population, U.S. forces deployed in Iraq and Syria, and to U.S. and international military and commercial shipping and transit.
All right, so what she said there, that the media completely misconstrued and said that she said X, Y, or Z, she didn't say that. If you listen closely to what she said IC, intelligence community. She didn't say she believed it. And that's why in her tweet, she made sure that people understood very specifically, right here, dishonest media is intentionally taking my testimony out of context and spreading fake news as a way to blah, blah, blah. America has intelligence that Iran is at the point it can. She was questioning the intelligence that she previously was given, and now she's saying, or at least that's what President Trump and she are on the same page, they're saying there's no daylight, they all feel the same way. President Trump was answering the question to that guy and saying, if she said that, that would be wrong. But she didn't say it. And right after President Trump made that statement on the tarmac, she dropped that. And thus far, just so you guys can see it as well, it has had 11.7 million views. People are running to it for clarification. So, did she say something different? You heard her own words. It's only a minute and a few seconds. So let me play it again. It's a minute and 48 seconds, and listen closely to what she says, who actually said it.
Iran continues to seek expansion of its influence in the Middle East, despite the degradation to its proxies and defenses during the Gaza conflict. Iran has developed and maintains ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and UAVs, including systems capable of striking U.S. targets and allies in the region. Tehran has shown a willingness to use these weapons, including during a 2020 attack on U.S. forces in Iraq and in attacks against Israel in April and October 2024. Iran's cyber operations and capabilities also present a serious threat to U.S. networks and data. The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003.
All right, so that's the statement everybody's saying was conflicting and that she lied, and she said the IC, the intelligence community, is at a narrow needle, pinhole in the needle at this point. Is she trying to say it was them, not me? Is President Trump? I don't know. I just want to play it so you guys could hear it. Again, I'm not going to make the judgment on it, but she posted that immediately after President Trump said she's wrong. So, yeah, we could take it from there. I'm not going to convict her because she came right back out and said, no, you misconstrued. If you listen to the literal words she said, well, she's part of the intelligence community, isn't she? So I don't know what she was referring to, but President Trump was very, very adamant. She's wrong.
President, Chinese in any way helping Iran at this moment? Hearing reports of mysterious planes landing in Iran from China?
They say that they're there to take people out but I can't tell you about that. I get along very well with China, get along very well with President Xi. I like him, he likes me. We have a very good relationship. We'll see what happens. I can't imagine them getting involved.
It's a decision that you need to make on Iran, whether to strike militarily. Is this the biggest decision you'll have to make as president?
Well, I can't tell you that. I have to see what happens. I can't, really say that. It depends what the decision is. But I wouldn't really be able to tell you that now. I'll tell you in about a year from now, maybe 5 years or 10 years from now. You never know about decisions. You never really know.
Sir, would you support a ceasefire while the negotiations happen?
I might, depending on the circumstances.
Would you?
All right, so that was breaking news. Again, nobody covered it. Would you support a ceasefire while the negotiations are taking place? He has said no ceasefire in the past, and then he said just now, this was last evening, yeah, I would accept a ceasefire depending on what happens with negotiations. You listen to this stuff and you hear what he's saying, and now you're probably wondering, or not wondering, but now you understand why I put it's not chess. A lot of people, always like to say President Trump is playing 4D chess. I don't think we're seeing 4D chess anymore. I think that, me personally, I think the decision has been made, whatever that decision is going to be, and what you're watching right now is a movie play out. And he's not telling you what the end scene is going to be. He's being very cagey, he's being very deflective, and it's not because he's being deceptive. He's playing a part, in my estimation, right now. He knows he holds all the cards. Everybody who's worried about, he's going to break his promise and he's going to go to war and blah, 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 blah. He's not running for re-election more than likely. This is the term where a president has to do what he has to do, and he can't look at polls and everything else. If President Trump truly wants to make America great again, he's got to do what he has to do. Has to do what he has to do. Even if his approval numbers go down, even if Mark Levin and Tucker Carlson and other people are screaming and the Hodge twins, and I don't give a shit, excuse my language. I got to do what's going to be best for America. Not my poll numbers. I'm not running again. If you go look historically, the second term of a president is always the term when they do what they got to do to push their agenda. Because at this point, you're no longer doing this and seeing how the numbers look. You understand you're not running for re-election. There's no campaign that's coming up. So you got to get the work done right now. Got it.
It's very hard to stop. I will say this. It's very hard to stop when you look at it. Israel's doing well in terms of war. And I think you would say that Iran is doing less well. It's a little bit hard to get somebody to stop.
Liam Cosgrove was here. Former Congressman Matt Gaetz threw out an interesting idea suggesting that if you were to broker a deal where nuclear inspectors go into both Israel and Iran, that you could win a Nobel Peace Prize, and they might even rename it the Trump Peace Prize. Did you hear those? What do you think of that?
Well, they should give me the Nobel Prize for Rwanda, and if you look the Congo, or you could say Serbia, Kosovo, you could say a lot of them. You could say, the big one is India and Pakistan. I should have gotten it 4 or 5 times. I should get it for I would think the Abraham Accords would be a good one too. They won't give me
I just thought as he's talking, everybody knows today. Everybody. I'm going to throw something out at you in terms of it, looking at it as a movie. Everybody knows today that the B-2 bombers, the stealth bombers, the bombers that can't be detected by, radar and everything. Everybody knows, or supposedly, that the bombers are flying over that direction. If these were stealth bombers, how the hell would anybody know? Who brought the information out and said, hey, listen, these stealth bombers that people can't pick up on radar, they're heading to the Middle East? How could that be possible? You don't know when the stealth bombers are engaging in war. That's what they are. They're stealth bombers. And you got people on X telling you and tracking their whereabouts. until you're not allowed to track it anymore, until it goes poof and you can't see it. So why would the stealth bomber be visible to people on X and you know, plane trackers right now? Why would people be able to even see what direction the thing is going? Yeah, you're watching a movie. I want you to know that these birds are in the air. I'm letting you know they're heading east or whatever. Because if I was really coming at you today, you'd never see it. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the B-2 bomber. Robin and I were at an air show. I think it was not this past year, but a couple years ago. And they flew the B-2 in from wherever it's stationed. And it came in, and it made one pass, and it left. And I'm like, oh my God. And you would never know it was there until it's already done what it has to do. All you're seeing is the back butt of it just fly away. You would never have known that this plane was... It was amazing. So why would people know today that the B-2 bombers are in the air? Wouldn't that be kind of stupid? Unless you wanted people to know that it was in the air? Because once they disappear and they turn off the transponders and you can't track them, you don't know if they turn around. You would never know. They fly at 50,000 feet. Nobody's going to know where this thing is when they want nobody to know. Just wonder.
About peace prize because they only give it to liberals.
Would you support Iran being able to have nuclear, or would you support Iran being able to have civilian nuclear energy capabilities up to 3.76%?
You know, they're sitting on the top of one of the largest piles of oil in the world. I just don't know why they need that for civilian work. You know, it's one thing for certain countries to say, hey, I want to have a certain amount where I can go nuclear a little bit because we need it for electricity, we need it for air conditioners, etc. But when you're sitting on one of the largest oil piles anywhere in the world, it's a little bit hard to see why you need that. Yeah.
Are you concerned that Iran or its proxies would wage terror attacks against American targets abroad if you order military action?
We're always concerned about that, and we have to take them out and be very strong. You're even in danger talking to me right now. Do you know that?
Why would he have said that? That's very interesting. You're in danger even being here. Danger is everywhere is what he's telling this woman. Danger is everywhere. The Obama administration made sure of that. There's people probably in different hotels, in apartment buildings, in caves, whoever knows where they are. You're in danger right now is what President Trump is saying. That's kind of scary.
You are in danger talking to me right now, so I should probably get out of here, but you guys are actually in danger. Can you believe it?
One more. Mr. President, is it still your expectation that NATO countries spend 5% of their GDP on defense spending?
Well, I think they should do that. I don't think we should, but I think they should. We've been supporting NATO so long. In many cases, I believe paying almost 100% the cost. So I don't think we should, but I think that the NATO countries should, absolutely.
What, like Spain decides not to?
Well, NATO's going to have to deal with Spain. Spain's been a very low payer. They were always a very low payer. They were either good negotiators or they weren't doing the right thing. I mean, I think Spain has to pay what everybody else has to pay. Spain has been notorious for low pay. You know who else was a low payer, just about the lowest? A place called Canada. Because Canada said, why should we pay when the United States will protect us free? And they've been right about that.
Ukraine, you've been making progress towards a peace deal, but I don't know if you know this, but Lindsey Graham and Mike Pompeo were there on the ground in Ukraine, seemingly doing the opposite, trying to provoke the Ukrainians to keep fighting. What do you think of that?
Well, we're going to see, and people have to be very careful with what they say. They got to be very careful with their mouth, because their mouth can get them into a lot of trouble.
One more.
Ooh. I took that as a veiled warning. I don't know how you're taking it, but I think that, hey, what about Lindsey and Pompeo and these other people? Your mouth gonna get you in trouble. Wait a minute. That wasn't even a veiled warning. That was a direct warning. Your mouth is gonna get you in trouble, Lindsey, Mike Pompeo, and some of you other people out here. Shut up. That if I were them, I would like, okay, I've been warned. The President of the United States just told me, basically, you're effing around. You are definitely effing around. Don't let me show you what the find out part is.
ICE has said that they're trying to arrest up to 3,000 individuals a day. There are some communities that are saying they are fearful of being wrongfully detained or separating some families, even if they're undocumented. Is the fear in some of these communities worth the deportations of these undocumented individuals, a mass deportation program?
It's a tough subject because, look, we have farmers. I love farmers. I won 80%, 85% of the farmers, and I love them, and I'm never going to do anything to hurt our farmers. And you can also say the leisure business, etc. There are some businesses where you have a disproportionate amount of people that are the people that you're talking about. At the same time, we have to get the criminals out of our country, and we're looking at doing something where in the case of good, reputable farmers, they can take responsibility for the people that they hire and let them have responsibility because we can't put the farms out of business.
See, we talked about that a couple days ago, and people are like, he's making a carve out. No. You're going to have to disclose who's working on your farm that shouldn't be here. And now you're also going to have to basically take accountability if you have these people working. I actually said that. You can go back and watch the video. When I heard that they had to disclose in writing who's on your, who do you got working here? At that point, that told me. It told me with no uncertainty. You guys are going to have to pay up. All you guys on construction sites where these people are running, and you realize they're telling on you. They're telling that you've been having all this labor for who knows how long, working either under the table or you've been paying these newcomers for whatever you want to pay them. And now everybody knows, oh, that construction company has a bite. Oh, that farm has. Oh, this restaurant has some. They're running. They're basically the biggest. I've been posting it every time I see one of these videos. Oh, there's some more, and they're all running and screaming and everything else. But then you have to go back. Who's the general contractor on this job site? Man, we got to talk. Who owns this restaurant? Who owns this farm? Now you've got some accountability. It's on you now. So like the old mob movies. Hey, I'm sorry he died, but it's on you. Now you owe me. Whether it's fines or fees or whatever, we're not going to stop. We're just going to put it on your head, which should chill and scare a lot of these contractors who've been doing shady stuff. Think how many jobs are going to be open for Americans. These people have got to be shaking in their boots right now.
At the same time, we don't want to hurt people that aren't criminals. Most of the people that came in over the last 3 years under Biden, I would say probably 3.5 to 4 years, those people, you have a lot of criminals, you have a lot of, we're looking at that very closely. You've had people that have worked on farms for 20 years. It's very hard to go in there and say, you're coming out. But we're going to let the farmers take responsibility. They're great people. They'll do it. They know the good and the bad. So the hard part about this is not like a normal war where people wear uniforms. They don't wear uniforms. But we have murderers that came out of the last 4 years. We have murderers. We have drug lords. We have people that we don't want to. We have prisoners. They emptied out Venezuela and many countries. They emptied out their prisons into the United States. We have to get those people out. But we have stone cold murders, 11,888 murders. We've already gotten a lot of them out of here, but we don't want them. So we have to be careful. But I never want to hurt our farmers. Our farmers are great people. They keep us happy and healthy and fat.
Are there other cities that you're going to try to replicate what you've done in Los Angeles?
Well, we had a big victory last night in the Court of Appeals with respect to Los Angeles, but really the country, where Gavin Newsom, who's really an incompetent governor, he's just doing a terrible job between his fires, between all the houses burning down, his forest fires, and now Los Angeles. If we didn't go to Los Angeles, and the sheriff admitted it, he had no control. He would have lost control. We saved Los Angeles by having the military go in. And the second night was much better. The third night was nothing much. And the fourth night, nobody bothered even coming. We put out that fire. We did a great job of it. He sued us for going in and for helping him. We went and helped him. Right now, you'd have Los Angeles burning to the ground. Largely, it would have already been destroyed.
So do you think deportations should...
Notice nobody followed up on that question. Nobody said anything. And it's very interesting to me what he said. It was a very, very small piece of what he said. We won a very big victory against Gavin Newsom, comma, and basically against the rest of the country, comma. And they let that slip, and maybe you let it slip and didn't realize what he just said. So let me just explain to you. The win that he had with the Court of Appeals is now going to be, in fact, valid across the entire country. So if now Tom Homan is sees something and he says we need to roll the military out in X city, Y city, now he knows he can do that. And also the left knows he can do it. They're going to be trying everything, trying to worry about posse comitatus and all kinds of things. They're going to sue, but it's going to be very hard because the District Court of Appeals unanimously said, yeah, he can do it. So now he's got that feather in his cap, and I'm not being offensive by saying that, good gosh. But he knows right now. Again, if you F around, you're going to find out. You can let New York go on for as long as you want with this stupidness going up there, but understand, he could roll the troops into New York. Already got the decision. He's got so much power right now. This is why these people are freaking out. That decision that came in unanimously will allow him to go into cities where he deems it of national security. And that guy just ignored it. Yeah, Governor Newsom, comma, is in essence the rest of the country, comma. I'm like, wait a second. How did you miss that? The reporter, did you not realize what the President of the United States just said to you? He now feels he has the power to do that anywhere he wants. That's some serious strength.
Of a peacemaker, you worry that striking Iran would change that?
Always a peacemaker. That doesn't mean sometimes you need some toughness to make peace, but always a peacemaker.
Can you win in Iran without ground forces?
Is
an aerial campaign in Iran enough, or do you need ground forces?
Well, I'm not going to talk about ground forces. The last thing you want to do is ground forces.
Does Iran have 2 weeks, or could you strike before that? Are you essentially giving them a 2-week timeline?
I'm giving them a period of time. We're going to see what that period of time is, but I'm giving them a period of time. And
What? What did you just say, President? I'm giving them a period of time. We'll see what that is. We're giving a period of time, which means now you don't got 2 weeks. You heard how he just said that. I'm giving them a period of time. We'll see what that time frame is. What? Well, didn't you just say it was 2 weeks? No, it's within 2 weeks. I'm watching, I'm listening, I'm getting reports, I'm getting assessments. Something's going to happen within 2 weeks. It's within 2 weeks. Could be today. Could be tonight. We don't know.
I would say 2 weeks would be the maximum.
Mr. President, do you think deportations should focus on criminals or all the people who are here illegally?
Should start.
Listen to this question. Should the deportations concentrate on criminals or people who are here illegally? Do you understand that crossing the border without proper documentation, you are a criminal?
Focusing on criminals, and that's what we've been focused on. Very bad criminals, dangerous criminals.
But Stephen Miller said to go out and arrest every person who's here illegally. He's told ICE to arrest everyone who's here illegally.
Stephen and I have a very good understanding. He's a terrific person. We have a great understanding.
Mr. President, if there is an attack on U.S. assets, will you promise to conduct a full investigation and make it transparent with the American people before blaming Iran for such an attack?
Well, if there's an attack, we'll know almost immediately with modern equipment who made the attack, and those people will be very, very unhappy.
Prime Minister,
I want to get you people out of danger. You're in danger standing with me.
One more. Prime Minister Netanyahu said that they had the capacity to take out all of Iran's nuclear.
Why were they laughing? When he was telling them you're in danger just being around me, why were they laughing? Do they not understand the situation what America is in and that people would love to take this man's head off? Do they not understand that at any minute these guys standing behind him in black suits could say, get in the helicopter, do what you need to do because we see drones incoming? It's like these people in the press have no idea what's going on. Maximus and people I know as well are telling me the threat assessments that are going on, and it's like these people are completely oblivious to it. Crazy.
Your facilities. So what role would the U.S. be able to play, and why would they, if Israel says that they have all of the abilities, their own military?
I'm not sure he said that, but they really have a very limited capacity. They could break through a little section, but they can't go down very deep. They don't have that capacity, and we'll have to see what happens. Maybe it won't be necessary. Maybe it won't be necessary.
Would you like to see Congress pass a bill that bans child transgender surgeries?
Well, I know they're talking about it, aren't they? We're going to have to see how it comes to me in what form. Certainly, it's been something I've been talking about also. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
It cracks me up. I would have said, you see these guys in the black coats behind us and how they're stationed and what they're doing and how they're talking to each other and stuff? You think they're there just because they want sunshine? Or that, we're here to protect him in case, something happens. So yeah, you could be in danger standing right here. And they don't seem to understand. We are basically, I don't know, maybe he's telling us we're at war. People just don't know about it. They're bitching on Twitter and on X and saying you can't get us in a forever war. He just said, we're not even talking about boots on the ground. I told you that. There's no boots on the ground. It's going to be boom, 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 whatever it is. And then here we'll have problems. But what's very interesting is, and I want you to focus, and you can go look it up yourself, about the Ninth Circuit judgment that allows him to put military people on the ground. The same people who did the No Kings rally on the military birthday and his birthday, those same people are planning a huge rally on, guess what? 4th of July. So here they come again. They're going to be causing problems all over the place. And here they're going to try and do it nationally all over again. But unfortunately for them, this time, he feels very confident that he could roll out the military. He could tell the military, you know what? I want you stationed in this city, this city, this city. And if they start acting up, round them up. And of course, they'll freak out and everything else. But so after he did that, or before, I'm not sure the timing of it, J.D. Vance made a speech.
And thanks especially to the Marines from 29 Palms for being here, for serving their country and providing some much needed security. As a matter of fact, I just heard from a couple of law enforcement officers, basically, thank you. Thank you to the president for sending in the DOD officials, for sending in the soldiers and Marines, because unfortunately a lot of these federal buildings were under very serious threat. I heard about a lot of that during my tour here today, and the reason I'm here is I just wanted to hear from the law enforcement officials themselves, the state officials, the local officials, but also the federal officials, what's actually going on here on the ground. I think there's some good news, and the good news is the rioting has gotten a lot better. But the bad news is, as I heard from everybody, unfortunately, the soldiers and Marines are still very much a necessary part of what's going on here because they're worried that it's going to flare back up. And what do I mean when I say flare back up? I think it's useful to take stock of what actually happened in the city of Los Angeles over the past couple of months. So first of all, to set the table, we have a public official in Gavin Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, who over the past few years have actively encouraged illegal migration into this community, have strained public services, have strained law enforcement, and really have offered generous benefits, not to American citizens, but to illegal immigrants to break the law, to come into our country, and to receive generous public assistance for having done so. What has that done? That has created an illegal immigration crisis, of course, facilitated by the policies of the Biden administration, and there is perhaps nowhere where that crisis has fallen harder than in the great city of Los Angeles. And
now, as he's saying this, understand he's standing in Los Angeles. He's in the belly of the beast. and he's so confident in what he's saying, there's no teleprompter. Wherever he came from, wherever he walked into up to the mics from, he came in ready. Let's do this. Let's, and he's there on behalf of President Trump because he knows now that we have the military. This stuff ends. You no longer have a governor who's going to be telling us what we can or can't do. You no longer have a mayor who's going to tell President Trump or I what we can or cannot do to restore order. Now we don't have to ask. See, that's the really big difference. Before, there was all this thing where was there a request to the governor? Was the National Guard going to show up? And now we own it. Done. I'm here to let you know this is our town. We run this now. Just what SV had sent me this. He probably sent it a couple of days ago, but it's still too funny. It says, breaking, federal appeals court has unanimously blocked Gavin Newsom from taking back control of the California National Guard from President Trump. Notice the wording. Taking back control. President Trump has the control. J.D. Vance is strolling up there like he's the cock of the walk right now going, okay, here's how it's going to be. And this is what we're going to do. This is our town now. I remember when everything happened in Boston with the marathon bomber and David Ortiz came out. This is effing our town. That's what the message he happened to be going into Los Angeles and telling people. It's funny because it seems at this point that they are getting ready for what's coming. Just in, a No King's Day recruiter has been arrested for an attempted bombing attack on a Portland freeway. Another act of Democrat terror. The man is a leftist, non-binary climate activist. He checks all the boxes, who considers Trump a fascist, Nazi. And he's also active in the Antifa scene. People like this should never see the light of day again. They're not playing. This is not going to be a repeat of everything you've seen, and he's going to make sure everybody knows it.
Landed, when I saw this city, when I was driving through to come to this FBI building, all I could think about is what a great American city Los Angeles is, and what a great tragedy it is that we have allowed illegal immigration and rioting to destroy, I think, one of the great gems of the American family. Now, these guys surrounding me represent the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. They represent immigration enforcement. And, of course, we just met some Marines who represent the Department of Defense. All of these law enforcement officials were necessary because what happened is, in response to the basic federal action of enforcing immigration law, you had local officials and radical left-wing agitators who actually encouraged violence, who facilitated violence and rioting in the great city of Los Angeles. What happened here was a tragedy. You had people who were doing the simple job of enforcing the law, and they had rioters egged on by the governor and the mayor, making it harder for them to do their job. That is disgraceful. And it is why the president has responded so forcefully what happened in Los Angeles. Number one, because we've got to enforce our borders and get so many of these criminals out of our country to begin with. And number two, when you have violent agitators who make it impossible for the law enforcement to do their job, it is necessary to protect them and to defend them.
I just have to commend this guy. He is such a good orator. I don't know if they have a center console teleprompter, but he's not looking to, they usually look to the right or to the left to get their words off the teleprompters. He's not looking. This is coming either from the heart, or maybe they do have a center teleprompter, but he looks like he's just firing this.
Remember that the Friday that the riots started, before there was ever a single National Guardsman, before the President of the United States had sent in additional federal resources, you had law enforcement officers who were being captured and beaten by violent mobs egged on by Gavin Newsom and other officials. It was necessary to send the National Guard to stop that process, to bring some order back to this great city, and to make it possible for the people's president to enforce the people's immigration law. That's why we're here. That's why these guys are standing beside me. That's why we have close to 5,000 soldiers and Marines from the Department of Defense. It's because we've got to enforce the law. The president takes that very seriously. I'm happy.
I didn't know that. Did you? They've got 5,000 troops in Los Angeles. Game over. That's it. Yeah, that explains everything. 5,000 troops. I didn't know that. Nobody had given us that number. We knew that they had mobilized this group and that group. Now they've got a buildup of 5,000 soldiers in Los Angeles, in that Los Angeles area, to make sure everything is enforced. If that's not taking over a city, I don't know what it is. Gavin Newsom, you used to control this. We own it now. Mayor Bass, step aside. These people here, as he pointed, we now run this. This is our town, baby. Los Angeles is now going to be liberated. That has got to be putting chills up the spine of Democrats. No wonder they're screaming. This guy strolled in and went, yeah, this is us. I hope you're taking it that way, too.
I'm going to take a few questions, but before I do, I just want to send a message to all of the law enforcement, local, state, and federal, who frankly I think are suffering from a bit of a morale problem because they've had the local government in this community tell them that they're not allowed to do their job. I just want to let you know, from the president, the vice president on down, this administration stands with you. We're grateful for the job that you do every single day. We know that we wouldn't have a border were it not for your hard work and for your efforts. And we're going to keep on fighting for you and keep on standing with you every step of the way.
I'm sure Maximus is probably like, oh, yeah. The one thing a cop really wants to do is to do his job. And now you're hearing from the president and the vice president. We got 5,000 people here ready to back you up. No, we're not asking Karen Bass. We're not asking Gavin Newsom. We're here. And that's got to put some adrenaline into these guys right now.
Today, Border Patrol officials tell me that they feel like the local government is sicking violent mobs on them when they go out to the community to enforce the nation's immigration laws. Can you imagine what it's like to be a federal official doing your job, doing the job the President of the United States ordered you to do, and have a mob come after you for following orders and for enforcing the American people's laws? I think it's disgraceful that we've ever gotten to this place in this country, but thank God we've got a president and an administration that is pushing back against lawlessness. We're going to keep on doing it every step of the way. So thank you to the Border Patrol. Thank you to the soldiers and Marines. Thank you to the U.S. attorneys. Thank you to the FBI. Thank you to all of you for doing what is necessary to enforce the laws of the American people. We are grateful to you, and we'll keep on fighting for you. Now I'll take a few questions.
President Vance, would you say that Gavin Newsom is endangering law enforcement here in California, and what should he be doing if he was protecting them?
Look, I would absolutely say that Gavin Newsom is endangering law enforcement. The law enforcement officials themselves tell me as much, that when they go out, let's say you have a Border Patrol official who needs to go out and arrest somebody, maybe a violent criminal who's also an illegal alien. When that Border Patrol agent goes out to do their job, they said within 15 minutes of them trying to do their job, they have protesters, sometimes violent protesters, who are in their face, obstructing them, preventing them from doing their job, and endangering their lives. Why do they have that? Because those people have been egged on by local officials. Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass, by treating this city as a sanctuary city, have basically said that it is open season on federal law enforcement. They have treated Border Patrol and border enforcement as somehow an illegitimate force instead of what they are, which is the American people's law enforcement trying to enforce the American people's laws. So when Gavin Newsom encourages violence and rioting, when he encourages people to get in the face of our great Border Patrol officers, he is absolutely endangering the lives of federal enforcement. He's absolutely endangering the lives of mothers and daughters and fathers and sons who have been sent here to do a simple thing.
All right, so what he just told you, if I had a scroll that says, can you interpret what he just said? Can you summarize what he just said? He just enforced what the order said. President Trump said we had national security issue here. That's what he just said. We have a problem. He's endangering, he's threatening, he's putting at risk national security, the people. You need us here because he's put you at risk. And so he's letting Los Angelinos, Mel Gibson, everybody else know, we're here. It's a shame, he's right, that it had to get to this point, but they have basically clipped off the nuts of Gavin Newsom at this point. He can't do anything. You're completely feckless in your own state. And I'm not even going to address Karen Bass. You're completely useless. You're done. Now, you didn't want it to get to this point. And those of you who had seen the movie The Siege, I told you to watch it, because in that movie, Bruce Willis says the last thing you want to do is see the Humvees rolling down the street in your local community. But once we're there, we're not here to play. So every one of these gang members, every one of these cartel members, every single person who wants to do bad things to America, now it's not the local police who you control. The cartel can't really help you because at this point, you mess with these guys, you don't know what's coming after you. You're not going to be able to tell Karen Bass, don't respond, or tell Gavin, tell people to stand down. You go ahead and take a shot at one of these guys and see what happens. You go ahead and throw a Molotov cocktail at one of these people and see what happens. Right now, essentially, no one's announced it. It hasn't been put in effect. There's no martial law in place. But you'd be kind of stupid to see these guys walking around knowing they're soldiers, not local police officers, and think you're going to get away with something. And it's not just in the federal buildings now. Now they're in the streets.
It's the law. And thank God they're willing to do it despite the fact that the local leadership of this community has made it harder on them and has in fact endangered their lives as they go about to do their important work.
Mr. President, your reaction to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, their decision yesterday, I just want to get your reaction to that.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that for the past couple of weeks, Gavin Newsom has said that there's an illegitimate effort to send federal resources to secure a city that he refuses to secure. And what the Ninth Circuit said yesterday is that that was a completely legitimate and proper use of federal law enforcement. The president has a very simple proposal to everybody in every city, every community, every town, whether big or small. If you enforce your own laws and if you protect federal law enforcement, we're not going to send in the National Guard because it's unnecessary. But if you let violent rioters burn great American cities to the ground, then of course we're going to send federal law enforcement in to protect the people the president was elected to protect. And I think
there it is. There, you're not under martial law, but you're kind of right there. We didn't actually tell you got to go home and don't come out until like 9 o'clock the next morning. You can live your life, but understand if we get the call, we're gonna be right there. In fact, we may not even wait for the call. We got people looking. They're driving the streets. They can see what's happening. They have taken over control of California. People are gonna call me nuts. He just told you. We're not gonna stand by. We're not gonna wait and see what happens. We're watching. Go ahead and get stupid. We'll be there.
The Ninth Circuit said very clearly is when the president makes a determination that you've got to send in certain federal officials to protect people, that determination was legitimate, and the president's going to do it again if he has to. But hopefully it won't be necessary. We don't want to send these great Marines to cities like Los Angeles. We only do it if we have to protect federal property and to protect the lives of our great law enforcement folks.
By Democratic groups who were releasing the addresses of ICE agents in hotels around here.
Well, it just drives home. I was actually shocked to hear this, and I didn't realize this until I was in the command center earlier talking to some of these great officials, that oftentimes you have far left agitators who are posting the names, the addresses, even the family members of some of our law enforcement in an effort to harass them, antagonize them, and even threaten their lives. And what do I take from that? What I take from that is that you have a very small group of people who are so against the idea of border enforcement that they're willing to threaten and endanger the lives of their fellow Americans who are enforcing the law. And something else I take from it is that Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have got to stop this craziness. Every single law enforcement officer I talked to today, every single one of them said they feel like the local leadership, the mayor and the governor, are encouraging these far left agitators. What is the justification for this? What is the reason for this? There is a broad bipartisan consensus that we ought to have border enforcement and we ought to enforce our nation's laws. So why do you have far left agitators egged on by local officials who are encouraging these agitators to harass and to threaten our Border Patrol, you have it because of a lack of common sense. These people need to be stopped. These people need to be told that if you threaten a law enforcement officer, you're going to go to prison for it. And that's exactly what the Trump administration, that's the message that we're sending. But look, we could do so much better, and we could have such an easier pathway for these federal law enforcement officers if the local leadership wasn't egging this on. And I think that's the great tragedy. What I see here today is the great tragedy when a mayor and a governor encourages their citizens to harass and endanger the lives of our police officers and our law enforcement officers. It's heartbreaking to see, and thank God we've got great people who are willing to persevere despite it.
Yeah, that was a... he threw it down. That is the ultimate for Los Angeles FA and FO. You guys are scum. You can't control your own cities. Not only can you not control your own cities, you refuse to control your own cities. You want anarchy. You want chaos. And party's over. So those of you who live in California may be watching this. They're telling you. They took over. And guys like Maximus right now who are unleashed to do your jobs. Do what you need to without people telling you to stand down. I would hate to be that person, that mayor, that chief of police that says we're not going to enforce this or enforce that. I would hate to be that person in California right now. Because if Tom Homan goes to some place and they end up hiding some people and saying you can't, deport them or whatever, and you step in the way, man, you're dealing with the full force of the federal government right now. I don't care. You can scream and cry all you want as they're dragging you out. He has let everybody know we're here. We're here for quite some time because we're going to make sure this stuff gets taken care of. That's got to be frightening to some people. But then again, to the people of Los Angeles and California, it's got to be somewhat comforting.
Just another question, Mr. Vice President. There's been back and forth about whether raids will be going on in agricultural businesses and restaurants. Could you tell us if that's going to continue or not?
Well, the president's made 2 points on this that I think are very worth emphasizing. Number one, if you are in this country illegally, you are at threat of deportation because that's what it means to enforce the country's laws. If you've come here illegally, the policy of the Trump administration is that you shouldn't be here. You should go back and then come through proper channels if you so desire. But the president has also said that he wants to focus our critical and short supply law enforcement resources on going after the really bad guys, on the violent criminals, on the rapists, on the drug cartel members. We've still got a lot of those people in our country, and that's where the president wants to focus law enforcement resources, and that's what he'll continue to do.
Democrat lawmakers who keep getting handcuffed. The New York Times just did a story. They keep getting handcuffed, suggesting that the Trump administration is cracking down on Democrats. Can you comment on that?
Well, I was hoping Jose Padilla would be here to ask a question, but unfortunately, I guess it is.
So that one little line erupted across mainstream media. Oh my God, he called him Jose Padilla. Oh God, listen how he even reacted with tears because his fifis were hurt.
Currently the president of the Senate where you serve. He also went to Yale. I assume that he knows your name is Alex Padilla. Your response to him calling you Jose?
Oh, he knows my name. He knows my name. Look, sadly, it's just an indicator of how petty and unserious this administration is. But he's the vice president of the United States. You think he'd take the situation in Los Angeles more seriously? You think maybe he'd take a moment to talk to some of the families who have been impacted, have been terrorized, to feel what's really going on the ground. I mean, you saw him shaking hands with Marines, but did he listen to the Marines? Because we have, the report after report of the Marines, so many of the Marines themselves that don't want to be there. That's not why they enlisted. Or if not the migrant families, how about the employers who I know are speaking up because they're concerned about their workforce? We've got a lot of important work to do, but this is how the vice president chooses to act, and that says a lot.
Mr. Vice President, how dare you disrespect our senator? You don't know his name? But yet you served with him before you were vice president, and you continue to serve with him today, because the last time I checked, the vice president of the United States is the president of the U.S. Senate. You serve with him today, and how dare you disrespect him and call him Jose. But I guess he just looked like anybody to you. Well, he's not just anybody to us. He is our senator.
Except for the fact that Alex isn't his name. It's funny, you're complaining because J.D. Vance called you Jose, because you go by Alex. Your name is Alejandro. And some people say, oh, that's short for Alex. That's still not his name. There's nothing on his birth certificate that says his name is Alex. He's Alejandro Padilla. That's his actual name. But this made national news? The fact that J.D. Vance gave him a poke, that just basically did a dig at him, that was enough for MSNBC to do a segment because, oh my God, you disrespected him. You know what's disrespectful? Here, let me tell you what's disrespectful, MSNBC. It's disrespectful to barge into a press conference with the Director of Homeland Security and try to barge your way up. It's disrespectful to the office of being a senator, of screaming and saying, oh, you know who I am? It's disrespectful for everything that you guys are doing in the state of California. It's disrespectful that you expect legal Americans to put up with this crap. All of that is disrespectful. But the thing that they were worried about is you disrespected by calling him Jose. These are the same people who have called J.D. Vance and President Trump every name in the book. I mean, Hitler, fascist, Nazi, we could go for an hour just on all the stuff that they've called J.D. Vance and President Trump. But now it made national news because he called him Jose? Seriously? This is what's wrong with these people. Everything's about feelings. Nothing is about results. You know, the poor people in tents, we need to keep them poor and give them more fentanyl so we can keep them calm. We can't hurt, these people have to have their families and remittances. Everything is feelings. Which is why now you're no longer in control of your city. Sorry.
Not to show up because there wasn't the theater. And that's all it is. I think everybody realizes that's what this is. It's pure political theater. These guys show up. They want to be captured on camera doing something. They want to be able to go back to their far left groups and to say, look, me, I stood up against border enforcement. I stood up against Donald Trump. But all they're really standing up for is for drug cartels to run rampant over our country and sex traffickers to be able to continue to traffic little kids into our country. That's what you're...
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and address that. Go ahead and address that, Alejandro. I'm never going to call you Alex ever again because, it's not your name. And it's important to call you by your name, Alejandro. You're not standing up to the traffickers. You're not standing up to the cartels, but you're pissed off at Kristi Noem because she's going after those very same people that you won't address. The question is, why won't you address them, Alejandro?
Doing when you stand against border enforcement. So I think these guys, we ought to laugh them out of the building. We ought to call them out for doing what they're doing, which is grandstanding. And if they want to work seriously on border enforcement and on keeping their communities safe, the Trump administration's door is wide open. But they're not doing that. They'd love the grandstanding. They hate law enforcement because they hate the idea of the United States of America having a border. It's a disgrace, but it is what it is. We'll do one more question.
Sure. Just another thing. Do you think that the administration has been too aggressive with the deportation efforts? Like, are non-criminals getting caught up in the dragnet as well?
No, look, I don't think that we've been too aggressive at all. I mean, first of all, any time that a mistake has been made, we correct that mistake very quickly. But the unfortunate reality is that Joe Biden let in 15 to 20 million illegal aliens into this country, and there is no way for us to actually get those unlawful, illegal immigrants out of the United States of America without some serious law enforcement. And that's what we've been trying to do. It's not too aggressive. It's not not aggressive enough. It's just the right approach to make sure that we're enforcing our country's border laws. We have to remember 100,000 Americans die of fentanyl overdoses brought in by the Mexican drug cartels. We've got a terrible sex and human trafficking problem because of what these cartels are doing at the southern border. The president deserves great credit because after 45 days, you saw illegal border crossings draw to a small fraction. Illegal border crossings down over 99% under President Trump's leadership. But unfortunately, because Joe Biden was president for 4 years, we've got a lot of bad people in the United States of America that we've got to do the job of getting out of our country. That's what these guys are doing. We ought to support them, and we ought to have local leadership that empowers them to do their job of making Americans safer. Instead, Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass, they've decided to go to war against the people trying to keep our communities safe. That's a disgrace. That's a terrible commentary on their qualities as leaders, but the Trump administration is going to...
So what I'd like you to do is use Grok, ChatGTP, anything you'd like to, and see if you can do a search. You can even use Google and see how many times the words Gavin Newsom come up when you search cartel. Gavin Newsom trying to eradicate trafficking. And they don't talk about it. MSNBC acts like it never exists. That's one of the things you have to ask yourself, why? Why do they never, ever, ever talk about child or otherwise, because I can't say that word, trafficking? Why do they never mention it? Everybody knows it's out there. They never mention it. Everybody knows that the cartels are running rampant. They never mention it. And now we've got a president and a vice president who are making sure they let you know this is what has been allowed in California. This is what they're protecting at your expense. This is why guys like Mel Gibson and even Arnold Schwarzenegger are saying, enough of this. I want to be able to live the life that I have become accustomed to, even though if I'm a nut job liberal, at least let me live it peacefully. And now people are afraid because they're even breaking into their homes. We had a Chris Moritz on, and we did it. These people in Malibu have been wiped out. $1 million properties, tens of $1 million properties. Properties that were worth $30, $40 million are still dirt because they can't run their cities. Why are these people still staring at dirt months and months and months later? Buried in fake permits and fees and everything else and studies. You can't run your state. You want to Californize the rest of the country, and you can't run California. If you go back to my monologue, I was talking about that. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And it was funny, when I was talking about the monologue, somebody said this, and it was very interesting. Sophia Gertz. She goes, I'm in Florida currently. I can't afford property insurance due to overpopulation. Car insurance is unaffordable. We do have freedom to get the hell out of this hellhole. Exactly. You don't like it? Leave. See, that's the thing, that even people who don't like Florida, that they can't afford it. There's too much expense here. The insurance is expensive. It is. There are a lot of people here. There are. Even property insurance as well as the car insurance is expensive. Yes, it's true. There's nothing that she said in her comment, other than it being a hellhole, is wrong. But see, the problem is that people like her don't understand is that we're not telling you you have to live this way. If you think the property insurance is too expensive for you, if you think the car insurance is too expensive for you, if you think there are too many people, well, you probably went down to Miami. See, everybody thinks Miami Beach, and they get down there like, man, there's people everywhere. Have you looked at Ocala? Have you looked at Gainesville? Have you looked at, some of those cities along the way? Oviedo? Deltona? You see, everybody thinks that Florida is Miami. Florida is one of the biggest states in the country. If you don't like high car insurance, you don't like high property taxes, you can't afford that stuff, there's too many people, it's a long way to the north. There's all the way down from Jacksonville. There's places you can live that don't have hardly any people. This is a town called Samsula. It's in the middle of nowhere. Yeehaw Junction. Ain't nobody there. You have that choice. If you don't want to be around something, don't be around it. Step. And that's what makes Florida great. There are people who like hunting and fishing. Not a whole lot of hunting and fishing going on in Broward County. Maybe, well, it's fishing. Not a whole lot of hunting. But there's a whole lot of hunting up in Ocala. A whole lot. There's a whole lot of hunting up in Claremont. These are cities that people don't even know about. I'm like, wait a minute, that's in Florida? That's in Florida. Really cheap to live, too. You can buy a house up there for probably like $200,000. And with land. With nobody to bother you. Do what you want. That being said, President Trump cut his time in New Jersey short. SV sent this to me. For some reason, POTUS is wheels down at Joint Base Andrews on his way back to the White House. So President Trump left New Jersey and has just landed. This was at 5:49, so about 15 minutes ago, President Trump came back from Bedminster, New Jersey, and he's now headed back to the White House. Does that mean anything? I don't know. Watch your TVs. Let's see what's happening. See, this is specifically why I'm going to the different content sourcing. Because I'm done doing my show right now, but what's going to happen here? What's happening in the next couple hours? What's going to happen, I don't know, in 9 o'clock tonight? I'm out to dinner with Robin. If something happens, I want to be able to click the phone and go, fire it up, go live, boom, and show you what's going on in Iran or Israel. That's the kind of stuff I want to be able to do. You know, keep doing my show, but I want to just expand on the content so you guys can see what's actually happening without having to be over there because the news isn't going to show it. I can tell you what they're going to be showing tonight. Just everybody's got different shows. Maybe they'll break in if something happens, but other than that, it can get pretty crazy out there. Maybe he's made a decision on Iran. Maybe not. We don't know. Let's hear. Maybe intelligence briefing and talking to Israel. Well, he's back. He said all along it's tonight. It's been, 48 hours? Yeah. Barry was supposed to be leaving for Europe, but he came back to the White House. Okay. He was already scheduled what to say? Too many people in South Florida, too crowded, too humid. It's hot, but you know what? It's okay. We got a pool, we got a beach, and every place you go has air conditioning. Yes, I understand you have to be able to afford the air conditioning because it gets to be expensive especially if you keep it as cool as I have to because of all these lights and everything. So I understand that. Like I said, Florida is beautiful, but situation in the family may have something to do why you can't leave. That's true. Some people just can't. Barry, can President Trump appoint special prosecutors on it, or that a decision Bondi makes? I believe she has to make it because it was Merrick Garland and Bill Barr who appointed the other one. So I don't think the president can. Maybe he can. I'm not sure. I'll look that up. I will look that up and find out for you for sure for tomorrow. My nephew is in the Army. He leaves Thursday. For all our servicemen and women that are heading out, prayers. Absolutely. All right, so Florida has bugs, hurricanes, high humidity, and hot as F. Other than that, it's great. Yeah, it's great. But the bugs, that depends on where you live as well. Hurricanes, well, I've lived here, for a long time. I'm still here. All right, so thank you guys for enduring a Saturday show. I greatly appreciate it. Things are changing as we speak in terms of what the content is going to be looking like on an ongoing basis. And I'm going to try and keep my ad reads at the beginning of the show to get them out of the way. Excuse me. Let's look at Super Chats if there are any in here, and there are, so let me go ahead and do this. Where's number 47? Input number 47. Let's pull that up. That's right here. All right, let's read these. Boom. All right. Job for 9. Can I get a job with your network? Once I grow and expand, we're definitely going to be looking for some people, for sure. But you know what? The first people we would have to bring in is our fantastic moderators. Entry, have birthday, Robin. Enjoy your day. Yep, she's out there goosing up. 6 o'clock right now. I got to get ready for dinner. Mountain Goddess. I timed it perfectly too, by the way. So I get off of here and then we got to go take a shower and get ready and everything, and we'll go to dinner. Mountain Goddess, the gay neighbors I have are the best. Very sweet, very thoughtful, and detailed in keeping their property beautiful. Yes. Every Saturday, you go to Home Depot here, you don't see a whole bunch of newcomers. You see lots of the gays. Naomi, thank you for your bright core. I take Kimchi, vitamin, now CBD. I have issues from the jab. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm a nurse and had to retire. This stuff is making me feel so much better. People have been saying it. Yep, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Shane Tankersley, thank you. Granny C's, happy birthday, Robin, and happy anniversary to you both. Here's 20 towards a little dessert. Thank you. I can't have dessert, though, but thank you. Edward Hartman, we're going to celebrate and party with you. Let's all celebrate and have a good time. Yeah, we did that the other day. Happy birthday, Robin. Thank you. JJ Rastaman, man like Barry, you just sending some love, bruh. Originally from Seychelles, but currently living in the UK. I can listen to you chat all day, every day. Thank you. Thank you. Vincent, Barry, you are so informative and love the show. Would you be willing to get someone like Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs to do an interview? I'd love to see that. Yes, Ashley's got him on her list as well. He's in demand quite a bit, so we're working to try and keep people coming for sure. Jenny, happy birthday, thank you. Suzanne Book, thank you. Rudd, 1R and 2, happy birthday, Rob. Much respect to a man that honors his wife as Barry does. So thankful to have his Patriot family and channel that Barry has built. The one thing I know behind every good man is a better woman. Yeah, I have to agree with you there. Mountain Goddess, please pray Welcome to My House by New Breed. I'll have to write that down. Welcome to My House. I've never heard that. Welcome to my house. Sorry if I write that down. Thank you. I love Larry. I love my Florida. Granted, now it's in oven for a couple months, but I prefer that to freezing cold when my fingertips turn numb. Yep. So you must be a snowbird, one of those guys who flies in and flies out and stays just long enough to make sure you keep Florida residency. Todd Doyle, Vance and Rubio, 2028. I'd love to see that. Mountain Goddess, on my mountain, there are limited places to hide the baddies, and my mountain lions would love the snacks. Montana, are you? Yeah, you didn't say. Yeah, on my mountain. So North Carolina, where are you with your mountain? Buddy Sanders, Senator Padilla wasn't wearing his congressional ID. Nope. Southern Ninja, you need a Greta Thunberg button that says, "How dare you?" I should get that. Buddy Sanders, pretty button, please. Yes. And Neo, hey Neo, how you doing? Happy birthday, Rob. Enjoy the celebration. Have a nice weekend. You and Barry and all the Fanfare family. Thank you very much for putting up with me today. Like I said, trying some new things. My light didn't work, so I had to do it manually, but got through everything. All right, so we're going to put the after party on, and you guys enjoy yourself, and I will talk to you sometime tomorrow, probably about 3 or 4. Love you guys. Thank you.
you.